All right. We call into order the Planning and Zoning Board of the City of Deltona, Wednesday, September 20th. I would welcome everyone here and let those who are listening that now I've been informed that we're going to be live on Facebook, and you can also go to HD2 on YouTube. And what was the other one they said? Could be see it on Facebook and YouTube. Those two. All right. So be aware. Mind your P's and Q's, because it's thank you very, and same to us, of course. Thank you. Welcome. I'd like to call to order, please. And we'll see. If you will, madam.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call.
That's what I meant.
Member Gonzalez.
Present.
Member Pfeffer. Here. Member Rodriguez did ask to be excused. Member Sixma.
Here.
Secretary Amoroso. Here. Vice Chair did ask to be excused as well. Chair Alexander.
Here.
Alternate Cardo. Here. Alternate D'Erico.
Here.
Alternate Vasquez. Here. And alternate Webster.
Terrific. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes and the agenda. As everyone, and before that, let's see. Oh, no, we'll get to new business on that. Everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes, and is there any comments, questions, any issues with any?
I'll make a movement for approval of minutes of August 16th meeting.
Second.
All right. Anybody opposed? The approval of the minutes carries, and thank you. And okay. Do we have any presentations today, or awards or reports this evening? Thank you. Okay, then we'll have the public forum time. Before we get into the old business or new business, please begin. Is there anyone that's already expected to speak before any of the issues? No?
No.
Nobody's covered. Okay. So any old business? I don't see that we have any old business to address. So before we get into business, is there anybody you need to swear in, anyone by city attorney? Or is anybody that intends to speak, or no? We're good? Okay. The next thing into new business, I will ask the board if anyone has had any ex parte notice or seen the properties or talked to the property, met with anyone, any ex parte?
It's starting me? No.
Yes. No. No. Anybody?
For me.
For me.
I drove by the property.
Okay, great. Okay, terrific. So we'll get business. New business. Resolution 2020-50. The granting conditional use to allow private school to operate an existing church building for property at 600 Fort Smith Boulevard that has a residential one single-family zoning district. Providing conditions, click severability, effective date. I believe we've visited some similar before. So, if you will, please tell us your name and your title here now.
Good evening.
Oh, that's not on it.
Good evening, all. Am I getting clear? Pull it up a little bit. Is this better? Good evening, all. My name is Jonathan Knight. I represent Planning and Development Services at the City of Deltona. Today I will be presenting to you a conditional use request. Am I allowed to go up? Just on my presentation up all. I apologize.
What's your title now, John?
Pardon me?
What's your title now?
I'm Planner 1, sir.
Planner 1.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. There we are.
So, I'm going to go ahead and put it in full screen mode. Okay, as I was saying earlier, today I'm presenting to you all a conditional use request. The resolution 2023-50. For a little ground on this project, it is located at 600 Fort Smith Boulevard in the southeastern section of the city. The property is a little bit more than 4 acres big, and it is located in the R1 single-family classification. As stated before, the applicant, Ms. Deborah Lively, she is requesting the permission to allow a private school to operate at an existing church building located at 600 Fort Smith Boulevard. The school will be called Mission Academy and will serve students from kindergarten through 8th grade. The facility will operate Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m., and they would like a maximum of 30 students. This is a list of the matters of consideration taken into account when we were reviewing this conditional use request. More details are available in the staff report. However, I will go over some of the highlights that we found. As stated before, the site is currently zoned R1, which does provide private schools via conditional use, which is what we are here for today. The existing site will serve the needs of the community by providing specialized school services, and it'll be another option for parents to send their students to school. They're requesting 30 students, and this will average roughly 123 daily trips. The school is on a section of Fort Smith that currently carries about a little more than 8,500 cars a day, and its capacity up to 14,000. With that being said, the section of the road operates above the acceptable standard for this portion. Included within this condition, or this conditional use, the applicant proposes to improve the landscaping along Fort Boulevard, which will help beautify the city. They will implement a new solid waste dumpster as well as an enclosure to cover up the dumpster. They will be updating the directional and traffic signage on the site, as well as some arrows on the concrete apron. They will also be updating the parking configuration to allow for better circulation on the site. As you can see, this is an aerial photo of the property. The northern section is completely wood, and then there's also foliage along the east and west side of the parcel. With that being said, staff recommends the Planning and Zoning Board to recommend the City Commission to approve Resolution Number 2350, which would allow a conditional use for the private school to operate at this existing church. The following conditions were put in place with the acceptance of this resolution. So currently, the resolution will allow 30 students and 2 staff at this location, and if they would like more, they would have to come back to the city for another conditional use application. The private school must meet all applicable Florida statute requirements. They will need a new business tax receipt, and they will also need a change of use permit application for the new educational occupancy use. And finally, the site shall conform to the approved site plan construction drawings, development order, and other related documents for this project. Do you all have any questions?
Open it up to suppose if we can just start at the end and we'll come through. All right?
Thank you. Mr. Knight, does the staff have any concerns about the impact an additional 30 daily occupants would have on the existing septic?
So the site has been checked and the septic capacity is available for that many students.
All right, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
The first question is the minimum required width of a driveway opening for two-way traffic is 24 feet. Existing curb cut's only 23. Are you planning on including type of a provision to add the extra foot to allow two-way internal access onto the site?
At this moment, I do not have an answer for that question.
Okay.
I have no questions.
I'm not done.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, you're done.
I have a couple more. The landscape buffer that you're proposing to run,
Yes, ma'am.
you're fine. The landscape buffer that you're proposing to run along the front of the site that abuts the right-of-way,
Yes, ma'am.
can you tell us what that width of that buffer is?
Not off the top of my head, but they will propose, there's proposed about 100 new plantings along the buffer.
100?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that's a combination of trees and shrubs? Okay. Is that going to be reviewed by staff at some point to make sure there's no conflicts?
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed we're not proposing a playground. I don't know if the applicant is present. Is there a possibility that we can get a little more information on why that might be?
Yes, ma'am.
And if there's any plan,
If you'd like.
that's what I was wondering.
The applicant would come up after I'm finished, if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect, thank you. Can you show us approximately, I asked to see if there was a site plan included. Yes, you guys did get a site plan, but can you show us whereabouts on the site the dumpster enclosure is supposed to be located?
The top of my head, no, ma'am, but the applicant will be available.
Okay, can you tell us what next steps in the approval process will be?
The next step would be go to the commission and request approval.
Okay, that would take care of UP approval. They're going to go through site plan approval next,
Yes, ma'am.
so that we'll come back to this board for a review?
At this moment, the site has been approved, actually.
Okay, so once the CUP is approved, then the site plan would be approved?
And I will have to get back to you.
Excuse me, good evening. Let me interrupt you. My name is Dinelia Santana. I'm working with the planning division. The process is after the division is approved and site plan is submitted, approved, that is more staff. The site plan doesn't come back to the planning and zoning board.
Okay, so we'll get another review of the site plan once that gets through the process.
If we have site plan submit and approved, is approved. But if it's the site plan that is not approved yet, it's go through the site plan review process, but it's at the staff level.
Oh, I see.
Doesn't come to the, yes, and this is more a could be considered a redevelopment because in a site, what they're doing is improving the site, and they are giving some more improvement to the parking area to make sure that the use that they are proposing right now is going to meet the requirements of our land development code.
May I ask,
Okay.
what was your about the site plan? I don't understand.
My point about the site plan is if this board would have an opportunity to review the site plan, because we don't have an answer to the width of the landscape buffer, and we don't have an answer where the dumpster enclosure is supposed to go. And also don't have a clear understanding of how the parking spaces are going to be reconfigured, and they're reducing the handicaps down from 3 to 1, I think, with a relocation of one of the other handicap parking spaces. Not that those things preclude them from an approval, just interested to see if we have an opportunity to review it.
Understood.
Is there a dumpster on the property now, and my understanding at all?
Not current, no.
So it's only they put a dumpster on and they enclose it, correct?
Correct.
I'm jumping out of line.
You're fine. I'm done. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Under your time. All right. How about you?
You can almost see my house on the lower right-hand corner. When you say specialized, what does that mean per student?
It'll be a smaller classroom, so it'll be more focused on the student as opposed to a larger school.
My only concern is safety in that area. There's a school bus stopping on the corner of Smith and Eldrum, and have cross guards there. Will any of the children walk, or they're all going to? That's why I asked about specialized. Are they going to be driven there, or?
That might be a question
Yes.
for the applicant.
Yes.
Do you have any questions for him specifically, and then we'll get the applicant up here too.
Okay, I thought nobody was requested to speak. That's why I asked.
Oh, that's why, yeah.
No, I'm good with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Explain to me just real quick, the average 123 daily trips. What does that exactly define, that 103 daily trips?
So that would be the trip there and then the trip going home.
So you're assuming 60 people, well, 61 and a half will go in and out with 30 students?
It's an estimate. It was not perfect.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. I think the rest are probably going to be for the applicant. Anybody else questions for Jonathan? Go ahead.
I do have one question. 30 students, but how many people are in the church? Do you know, or do I have to ask?
Not off the top of my head. You have to ask.
Gotcha.
The school will not be operating at the same time as the church.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
If that is all, I would let Ms. Deborah Lively to speak.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And please state your name.
Hello, Deborah Lively.
Yes, welcome. Thank you.
To answer your question about the dumpster, who had the question about the dumpster? Okay, everyone did. So we've talked with Waste Pro. They won't know where to put it until they come out and look at it, but there are several spots that they can place. I did get a request to find out how big the dump pad had to be. Right now, I don't have a dumpster because we all take our trash home at church. There's 3 different churches that meet weekly. Yeah, so everyone just kind of takes it home and we just throw it out. As far as now, like I said, at the church, we exist now. A car can come in and can come out, and there is a loading area. Spaces go, we've already taken care of that. We hired a company. They came in and moved one of the handicaps. We have a handicap here, a handicap here, and then the space for them to walk. So that's been taken care of. We updated the signage. That's all brand new. We also moved the parking bumps that we were asked to move to make sure if fire ambulance needed to come, there was plenty of room for them to get around.
Yes, they have to be able to turn around.
Yes.
So playground, and what does specialize mean? I think we're
Specialize is, my husband and I are both certified special education teachers, and we believe in smaller classrooms, more small group setting, center rotations. Specialize is just the kids getting more of us and less of the things they may not be currently in other places.
How do you propose to divide them by age group then if you're going to be opening the school for kindergartners through 8th grade? Is there an age group consideration with that?
So with elementary would stay together, and then school would stay together, and they're like a rotation. So I've always taught in small groups. In special education, it's actually one of the best ways I find to teach students. So you don't necessarily group them by grade because they may not be on the same level. And typically kids now are about 3 years behind to all the things that happened. So you might have a kindergartner and a second grader, but they're doing the same thing. A lot of the standards are the same across the board. You may have to teach at a different level. So grouping them together by ability is much more beneficial than just putting 2 graders together because they're 6th grade. So we've done that for years.
Considerations with regards to physical activity or any type of PE, possibly playground, outside time?
Possible playground. As of right now, my husband and I have paid for everything out of our own pockets. So until we get funding for something like that, we definitely want a playground out there, basketball court, but there's a lot of open space for the kids to run around and play. For us, physical activity is really important for them to learn. Be outside and play and have activities outside, classes outside, lunch outside, especially when it gets cooler. But I mean, football, soccer, there's plenty of space for all of that. And the property is surrounded by a gate. So there was concern about them walking on the sidewalk. Parents just come in, drop off, leave, but there's a gate in front of it, and no one would ever leave that gate.
I'm sorry, where's the?
It's, I'm not sure what I'm so sorry. Right in the front. So there's
Out by the street.
by the street, and then the shrubs and plants would be actually behind the gate, so it wouldn't be on near the sidewalk. It would be the other
So the
side.
so the gate prevents cars pulling to the parking lot when they're just not functioning?
Correct. The gates are closed and locked
So when the school is open, the gates will be open
while they're coming in, but they're closed while
during class time?
safety.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions?
What are you going to do with the interface between the school and the woods?
As far as
Having a fence or something to make sure the kids don't go wandering around there and get hurt or lost?
I don't think that would even, I mean, that for me, that wouldn't even be a consideration with my husband and I out there at the same time.
Right now, there's nothing.
I mean, it's blocked by shrubs and trees. I mean, they would literally have to like claw through shrubs, try to get through.
Yeah, of course they will.
I mean, they could, I just couldn't imagine that.
I mean, I don't want us to be liable in some way if somebody gets lost there.
Oh, I don't think we would. So we would be liable as an institution, as a
If we don't require, if we don't ask the question.
Ask your Madam Attorney here.
I mean, I just want to make sure that,
No, I understand. And I think some of these questions, Jonathan, I mean, this is going to have to go to the commission. And so I think, that we could ask for greater clarity from you with regard to a plan, with regard to keeping the kids on site, and having that, not casting any against what you're going to be doing out there, but just security. I also think that it would be good to have pictures of the parking area and what you're explaining.
I do have pictures. I sent them into the city.
Okay. Well, and so I think that we should use those pictures. And also, perhaps we may have a better information from Waste Pro as to where that dumpster may be going.
Right. With Waste Pro, it costs so much money to pour the dumpster and do all things. So until we had an actual approval, I just couldn't see spending $4,000 or more right now. So,
but also have to show,
I believe there's a space on the plan of where a couple places could possibly go, but there's not a definite Waste Pro goes, this is where we want it.
That's something to show too.
It's on there, yeah.
Okay, but it's not on what we're using, is it, Jonathan? It doesn't show it. So, they're asking questions because they want to look at this, they want to protect the city, and they want to do their due diligence sending this forward to the commission. So all we're trying to do is just, get all the information
Absolutely.
we can. And Dr. Pfeffer, that was a very good question, and that will carry it forward.
I have one more. At
Sure.
least. Seems to me there ought to somebody put a sidewalk across the road. I mean, that is a speedway area, so people can walk across the road.
Just something identifying on the road, like they do with the cross, that's,
We call it
crosswalk, right?
There's someone lives right across the street on that property. There's 2 lanes, and then there's a turn lane in the middle. Could you put a crosswalk on a turn lane?
I just think he's just asking, it's assuming that, trying to identify that, please slow down right here. Some could be walking
I did ask
across.
about
I don't think they will be walking across.
No,
there, but-
nobody would be walking. Not from ours, they wouldn't be
He's just-
walking. We did ask about school zone sign, and
That's a good
something
idea.
that would come. I don't even remember who I was talking to, but they had said that that's something that city would do. Put a school zone sign there.
And we'll put, Jonathan, need to have that on our list too, when it goes in for the commission. These are all good ideas.
I mean, I want to see somebody review not the traffic, but the sight lines and whether there should be a crosswalk, and there needs to be kind of a fence or something between the school and the woods, because it just seems to me.
My question with that, we don't own the property, we rent the property, so would
I'm going to ask you about that.
the property owners, if wanted to improve the property in some way, would that hinder, is something that would be, to have to put a fence up and then, I just don't know what they plan on later.
I could,
I mean,
if I could ask
a couple of years ago, there was a zoning case before I got on, where that church wanted to expand in that area and build a bigger church. And I don't know if it ever came as approved or not approved.
Very nice.
There's a lot of pressure for development in that area. And if you look at where there's sidewalks or crosswalks, there's one at Cortland Plaza up there. There's another one way down on West Norby. So it seems to me where somebody ought to take some consideration of what are we going to do to make sure that it's safe and that kids don't wander off. I have 2 kids that were in special education. And if you told them not to go to some place, that's the first place they went.
No, we're not a special education school. We have the tools and strategies that I believe in special education benefit all students. I think that's part that's missing in education, not allowing the small groups, not allowing the one-on-one facilitation. So we're not a special education school. My husband and I are both trained and educated in that field. So I may have come off a different way. We're not necessarily a special education school. We can handle it if we needed to.
could I ask a question?
I mean, when the site plan is approved and it's the town's part of it, you guys have to view the safety aspects. and it has to be given consideration. That's what I'm wanting to say. It's our job to police you in some way to make sure that it meets the standards that we think are proper.
Yeah, absolutely.
You said you're renting or leasing, and so one of the issues is who's carrying liability with regards to...
That was going to be my question.
That was whose question?
I was going to put my
Okay,
question. So,
go ahead and ask it then.
Well, I was going to ask you about the structure of it. I'm without being too personal, but hey, there's 3 churches that are using that facility, so I'm assuming that it's some are on Saturday evening probably with that faith, and then Sunday morning. So those aren't going to really matter for your purposes, but and you attend one of those, right?
My husband's
so the
the
church
pastor
is
of
not
one
going
of them.
to. They are allowing. Are you paying the church? Do you mind me asking? Are you paying them a fee, obvious, to use the facility? And was anything had to be done within the church that you had to alter or renovate or do anything like that? It's a facility that will serve this just fine for that many kids. And you're only going to have like 30 children.
That would be the max.
Okay, so it's a private school. It's not really, like you said, special education or anything. You're getting possibly with the thing that's coming from Tallahassee.
After all this is done, we would be able to accept the private FES-EO funding.
And so you're basically leasing it. So that was it about the liability. How much of the church do you have? Are you all are getting the necessary insurance coverages? And
we actually rented from them for 3 years. So we've been there, and we have a nonprofit organization. Through that nonprofit, which is our church, we do have a pretty hefty liability insurance.
That's covered. $1 million aggregate thing. Okay, and then
and we'll be increasing that.
Well, that's probably a good idea. I'm not really concerned about where the dumpster's going. I'm sure they'll find an adequate spot for it. But and the traffic in and out, what are your hours going to be?
Monday through Fridays, school is 8 to 3, and then open 7 to 4.
Okay, great. And that'll all be no students will be leaving at different times or anything. It's all at flat rate or flat time. And and you all have been, so you've been doing this for 3 years already, huh?
We've been in the building for 3 years, and we work well with a church that owns the building. It's owned by the District of the Nazarene.
So they've all agreement on the course, or you wouldn't be here, I'm assuming. Yeah. And I know there's a huge need for this. I get called all the time, so I realize that there's a huge shortage right now of care and schools, but is there anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So you're fully state law and certified everything to do this? Okay.
Yes.
Our job here is not to worry about where your dumpsters go, where your playgrounds are. That's not our job up here. That's other departments to come up with that. Our job is to find this consistent use.
Yeah.
Which multiple churches all over Deltona have private schools in them. So that's our job.
Yes.
And make our recommendation to City Council. So,
amen.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? No? All right.
I'm ready to make a motion, but.
And we don't have any public comments for it? All right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I have a granddaughter that attends it. She's a member of the National Honor Society. She's gotten straight A's from the time she's been.
You don't have to verify that.
Seventh grade. I'm just saying, so it's not just special education.
No.
And I think that was getting lost. She's learning better now and happier now than she's ever been in public school.
That's fine. We're judging the quality of the school or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you all have been, but I'm all for the smaller and instead of a classroom. I have a daughter that's a first grade teacher, and we don't need 35 students in a room in a classroom anymore.
Most of the families that we deal with are my husband and I've taught previously. So they're students that have known us, they know how we are, and they trust us, their kids.
Yeah, and we're not judging that at all. That's, as Member Sixma said, that's our job up here, to judge the quality of your care, or you're the teacher, or anything like that. We just want to make sure that it fits the zoning for the ordinances, the city, the zoning. I realize it's already listed as a variance. I read it so that to be applied for. So a long time ago, they said, and since it looks like there's a lot of ground there.
It used to daycare.
Huh?
It was a daycare at one point years ago.
Well, I understand Member Pfeffer's concern, that back area, you know, not only kids getting in, but rattlesnakes and bears getting out. No, they're not going to be bears in there, I'm sure, not with that residential, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
So you might want to look into that at some point, that you know, especially if you're going to, you have plenty of room there to add playground.
Yes.
And that would be, you know.
We would just have to get approval from.
You have to go through those steps for that.
For the
church
church and from the owners.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if no more questions, can we have a motion for whether?
Yeah, I make a motion, as I see for it, we're just looking at your conditional use today, which applies here. You know, I think you fit right into the criteria. I will make a motion for approval to be forwarded to City Commission.
Thank you.
On Resolution 2023-50.
Read it up there, too.
I'll second it.
Second.
Okay.
If you wanted to.
We're all seconding
All
it.
right, we have a first and a second. All in, should we go through the count? And do you still want us to explain our reasoning
No.
today? All right, thank you.
Who seconded?
Wait.
Okay.
I don't want anybody to get confused. I mean, when we have quasi-judicial hearings on reasons and things like that, there are certain things that you all.
Right.
On those, we do have to ask that for you to tell us why you're going that way in case we have to say.
This is not a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
No.
And so I just want to make clear, so somebody thinks, oh, no, we don't have to do that anymore.
Oh, no.
Fall in that category.
No. So Member Sixma has made a motion, and Member Gallus has seconded. And we call.
Member Gonzalez?
Aye, yes.
Member Pfeffer?
Aye.
Member Sixma?
Yes.
Alternate Cardo?
Aye.
Alternate D'Erico?
Yes.
Secretary Amoroso?
Yes.
And Chair Alexander?
Yes, so for approval. It moves unanimously.
Thank you.
For approval. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next item up. We have a variance request. Well, this is actually from, this is not the same one that we had before, was it? No, this, because we had that skinny little lot a few months ago. So please state your name and position. Thank you.
Yes, sir. My name is Caitlin Apgar, Planning Coordinator, Planning and Development Services.
Caitlin.
Let me just pull up our...
All right. Just to say before we start, getting into it, I did make an update to the resolution. It should be dated in packet, and I did put an extra copy to the side. It just included the criteria used for variances. It's the only change. Different than the one that was sent out via email. All right, today I'm going to be presenting a variance request, resolution number 2023-39. The applicant is seeking a variance from the 1 acre minimum lot size requirement of the E1 Residential Estate 1 zone classification. This zoning classification requires the 1 acre minimum to develop. The parcel of reference is 0.92 acres. There exist no irregularities. There is a section of the parcel that is within an EE flood zone in the northernmost parcel. So just mean that it would have to build 1 foot above the base flood elevation. Otherwise it is not here. The picture on the left-hand side denotes the flood zone in the northernmost section of the parcel, and the wetland map depicts no wetlands. The RE1 zoning classification exists surrounding the property. There is public zoning to the north, which includes mostly just the Lake Cutler chain. There aren't any parcels in the northernmost section of this area, so they wouldn't have any neighbors to the north, just to the east, west, and south. All of these parcels are consistently zoned RE1. The RE1, just as a little bit of background, it exists to preserve the integrity of the rural land developments in this area. Granting the applicant this variance would not disturb the continuity of the area in a significant way, as meets all other zoning. It would have to meet all other zoning requirements aside from this 1 acre minimum. The applicant conducted an independent record search via first choice type. The present owner has not any adjoining or contiguous properties, which means that the subdivision did not occur during that ownership. It is worth denoting that this parcel has existed the same way as it does today since 1998 at the very minimum. This subdivision was an unrecorded subdivision that occurred between the years of 1990 to 1998 sometime. With that being said, the buildable area still retains 27,200 square feet. It's highlighted here in green. The setbacks are highlighted in blue. The rear setback is 40 feet. The sides are 15, and the front setback is 40 feet. These would all be requirements of the zoning and would have to be met in uniform. Here's just a side-by-side of the proposed variance. It would only exceptionalize the minimum lot size area. Every other requirement would have to be met. These matters of consideration are noted in the staff report, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going through each one, but I will kind of note the answers to them. These are the criteria that we use to evaluate variances per the Land Development Code, Section 110-1103. The first condition for evaluating this variance, special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land. This parcel is unplatted, while not uncommon. It is a little peculiar. This area is characterized by these larger lots, and a lot of unrecorded subdivisions did occur prior to incorporation. The second condition is special conditions and circumstances exist that do not result from the actions of the applicant. The applicant has not owned adjacent parcels. The applicant purchased this parcel in a regular state. The third condition is literal interpretation of the provisions chapter would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning classifications. This parcel cannot be developed due to the size constraint, so it will be deprived of that development right. The fourth condition is the variance granted is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land. This variance is only requesting one exemption from the size requirement. It is a 0.08 acre exemption. And the fifth condition would be that granting the variance is in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the comprehensive plan. The RE1 Residential Estate 1 zoning classification is intended to preserve these rural lands. It's characteristic of the area, the kind of Osteen area. This parcel will still retain this amount of rural landscape and would have to abide by all other development requirements. With that being said, staff recommends the Planning and Zoning Board recommend the City Commission approve resolution number 2023-39, granting a variance to waive the minimum lot size requirement stipulated in the RE1 Residential 1 zoning classification for the property located at 728 Riggs Avenue.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Why don't we start with you, Captain Ron?
Actually, no, it's self-explanatory. I mean, there's other properties that are the same size already with residents built on. If you look on the southwest section of the aerial view, you'll see another property that's the same size with a house on it. So I don't see why, and like you said, it's the whole area hasn't changed since the 98 FLU. And there are other properties that look about the same size all throughout that FLU. So I don't see why there should be an issue on this one. Just, be cognizant of the wetlands on the north corner and when they're building on there. It's watch out for our critter friends.
So no questions, but it's...
No, but that's it. That was it.
But, and I would ask my members, if you could please get your in your, because not just for the public, but for it to get recorded and for people listening to it on TV instead of talking over here or up here. So I know mics are a scary thing, but if you could, and kind of talk more in them, but please. All right, Dr. Pfeffer.
First, do you know if the owner has made any effort to buy an upland to make it conform to the zoning?
I believe there have been efforts on the applicant's part, but he's not in attendance today, so I couldn't speak for him.
I mean, because, at least back in Connecticut when I was in zoning, the first thing we would do was say, go away and see if we can get it to conform so that we don't have to change the zoning.
Oh, hi. He is actually in attendance. My apologies. Mr. Norton? Hi. Nice to meet you.
So we'll do second questions for the applicant if we're able. Do you have any related to this then? Go ahead.
I mean,
we'll ask the
issue is that the land around here is historically a mess in the sense that there's all kinds of non-conforming lots.
Welcome to Deltona.
I'm concerned that we're opening a Pandora's box one by one, because you say there's other lots and they look like one, I know, but I don't know that they're smaller or larger. You can't really tell. But I mean, I don't want to be at a stage a year from now where we're approving 14 non-conforming lots because, it's not consistent. So we have really zero information on what's around this. I mean, I hate to go forward with whatever precedent we're setting. But, that's my question is, have you looked at that?
So the parcels immediately adjacent to this property are conforming. There are, though, other areas, probably more east in this Osteen area, that have contacted us about pursuing similar cases. I mean, there are quite a few of these lots here, and I see your point in saying that otherwise they would remain undevelopable.
I mean, that's my concern is what the hell are we doing?
Okay.
Sorry, I'm going to disagree, but it's talking an acre to 0.8 acre. Definitely, when the applicant and anyone else who comes up to speak, it might change some stuff. But this area, when you're talking about like a half acre to a 0.3 acre or tiny houses like that, like we see in Deltona all the time, then that's a precedent. But an acre to 0.8 acre in this area with all the wooded, we even set a precedent. I don't think it's that big of a deal to have an acre land, but we'll wait to hear from other people. So I don't have a question, but thank you.
Actually, I'm looking at one on the parcel map that looks like the exact same size on the southwest corner. Below it.
That's what it was.
Yeah, and house on that one. That'd be a non-conforming lot on that one.
I ruled it out. It is the same size lot that I could tell as far as
southwest.
Yeah. So it's, somebody's got a house built. So it's not like this would be the first one, but
no.
That's all I have to say.
Okay. Member D'Erico? Or, I'm sorry, I stepped out of that. No, I said, yeah, Andrea. And
I don't have any questions at this time, thank you.
yeah, do you have any questions?
Can we go back to the flood map and the wetland map? I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. So the red outline is the current property perimeter, correct? So it's already north, it's already in the flood area, so to speak. So there's no...
Slightly.
Right, slightly, and then it's the blue. So the .08, that's not .08 equally in any direction, it's actually...
So the parcel itself is 0.92 acres. So the exemption would just be 0.08.
Just pretty
acres.
Equitably, okay.
Yeah, it would be in no particular way. It just doesn't meet that minimum size requirement.
I think the point I was just wanted to clarify is from the northern perspective, it's not go much further north into the flood map area than it is now. All right, great, thank you.
Yes, it's 3,560 square feet, less from an acre.
Yes.
3 out of 40,000, it's 40,000, an acre's 43,560, excuse me. I do not have a question at this time either. However, I would like to hear from the applicant a little bit, and I guess, and then no one signed up to, are there no neighbors here?
We do.
Oh, we do, so we do have, okay, public, if you, okay. So, no more questions for Caitlin? Then we'll, thank you very much. If you have a wish for the applicant, I would like for him to step forward. Please state your name. And are you already a Deltona resident, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, my name's Jim Norton. Been in Deltona for 32 years.
Yeah. And what were you planning on doing with this?
Building a residential home. Right now, I'm actually in the process of selling the property, and they wanted to get approval before they bought it because the city said it was an unbuildable lot. So I went through the process to get a buildable lot so that they purchase it and build a house.
And you know what size house?
I do not know.
I mean, it's.
I mean, the minimum required.
It's, designated.
Minimum requirement for that area is 1,400, 1,500?
Yeah, 1,500 minimum.
Yes.
So, and they haven't, that's a pretty small house, but.
Yeah, it's pretty small. I believe they're going to go bigger than that. The houses in the neighborhood are, well, except for the house right to the agent right there.
Right.
But it was built, I think, back 1980.
So you've owned it for a while?
3 years.
Oh, okay. And now you're selling to someone else. They just built it. And
yes.
I'm sorry, are they here?
No.
No, they didn't. They let you handle this.
They let me handle all the.
Okay. Well, do you have any other statements to make about that and proponent as a proponent of
no,
this?
I mean, it is what it is. It just doesn't meet the requirement. There's a house to the right, so I can't purchase that property. Then the property to the left, I think, is 4 or 5 acres, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
Nor do I think it's for sale. So it's kind of landlocked right there at .92. Whoever divided it up years ago.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. If you have nothing else to say with you, very much. And now, if we can call up, if we have members of the, before we need to have, if you'll be.
Ruth Hall.
Can you hear me? Oh, hi. My name's Ruth Hall. I live in 358 Purse Lane. It's actually Osteen we live in Deltona, but it's an Osteen address. We live on Purvis Lane. If you look on the sheet here, the Riggs turns into Purvis. It dead ends and it becomes Purvis. When we bought our home in 1994, we actually had 4 lot tax things that we paid because that's the whole house was made on. So we have gotten it all put together now. We have a little over an acre, almost 2 acres right now. It looks like there's lots, but in reality, it's all owned by the same person with the house on it. And our complaints, when we bought it in 94, and we have people here that have bought it in the 70s, we went with what we wanted, an acre. And, we didn't want to live in building unities, like they're building on Doyle Road that backs up to Collins, because there's 2 big subdivisions right there, 0 property line. We chose 1 acre. And so all we're asking is everybody should adhere to what you want. And we did. So if .92 is going to get a variance, will .89 get a variance next year? Because between all of us, there are, unfortunately, little spots of probably unusable land. But again, you did everything you asked. And just don't want to have a house on a little section, and there's another little section, there's another house. We didn't want that kind of style, and that's really all we're asking. I appreciate your time. Do you have any questions? But like you said, if you looked at it, some of it looked like they're just people on one little spot. We own those. So, you know, because they just evidently haven't had the parcels joined together, because we still have where our house is and a quarter-acre parcel that's right next to it, but we own all.
What would you suggest they do with the property?
Well, being in South Florida, I know because it's Florida and we're wet, if you're going to do anything with any kind of land, you really have to really educate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what should have happened. And it didn't, and I feel bad,
Yeah.
but you know, we've all bought a bad deal at some point, and I unfortunately think that's what's happened.
So you're saying that when he bought the land, he should have known that it was non-conforming and he shouldn't have bought it?
Absolutely, as you would. You wouldn't buy a car with 3 tires, would you?
Maybe.
Knowing that it's a bad deal, you need 4.
May I ask
Can't buy a house, half a roof. Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sorry. May I ask the applicant another question?
Well,
Should we
yeah,
wait?
if Ms. Ruth is done.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm finished, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are on the public, but yeah, I don't know if that's unconforming. She asked
I
that.
could wait till the...
I wouldn't think so. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll ask.
Sir, you said you've owned this land 3 years?
Yes, I do.
And when you purchased the land, did you know that it was unbuildable at that time?
No, actually, I came to the city and talked to the building department, and they gave me all sets for the property, and I had plans drawn up 3 years ago to build my house. And then the cost of lumber and that skyrocketed, I held off. Since then, I've had a daughter in college, and I could use the money, so I decided to sell it.
You were already approved to build on it?
I wasn't approved. I came to the building department, though, at the time, and they said, yes, with that piece of property, setbacks are 40, 40, and 15. And
We didn't
no
have
one ever
mentioned.
said
Nothing was
about it.
mentioned at that
Nothing was
time.
mentioned that it was unbuildable.
About the acreage.
Right.
When did you realize that was below the 1 acre and it was not
When
buildable?
the owners that are trying to buy, or the people that are trying to buy now were trying to buy it, they called the city, and the city told them at that point that it was unbuildable.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yes.
Do we have any other public member?
John Hold?
Yes, we do. He had a question
For Ruth?
for Ruth, yes.
I'm sorry. Okay.
We see a map, and we see an area that said this is the plain. Do you have, any of you have any idea how accurate this is?
Where water is where the water is.
Yeah, it's very high right now. It's very high. Right now, it's higher than...
I don't know, all the news yesterday, that water was underneath the street. Exactly where it says on here.
Yeah, it's real back there now.
So perhaps he's the one you want to ask the question.
No, I mean, I don't think that line is where the water is. It's just, that's the floodplain on some map. And what I'm asking is that floodplain as drawn on map, the least bit accurate for this property.
Absolutely. If you want to come out and look at it.
No, I mean, it's too small, too big. The floodplain exists deeper into the property, or?
It's probably deeper now because all of us that live along Purvis, which, you know, comes to the corner, because the Butler Lane is, we're by it, but then where Mrs. Robertson is, who's the person next to this, the waters come in there too. So actually, land that wasn't wet 4 or 5 years ago is very wet now. I guess that's the best way to describe it. It is, isn't it?
I don't know if this, I'm so sorry to cut you off. I don't know if this would answer your question. The AE zone, the AE floodplain is noted on the survey. It's more of a base flood elevation established. It's subject to, like, you know, this may not, it's subject to a certain percentage of annual flooding each year. It doesn't have really, it's not the actual water line by any means.
No, I know. I'm asking or I want somebody from the town to inspect this particular property and say, this is where the water is, as opposed to a theoretical floodplain that was established somehow.
Per the survey,
It's been recorded.
The survey, the floodplain is established, and technically, the water, there is just a high water mark on the survey.
But where does that, I mean,
Well,
I don't think that's answering it.
That's the owner's issue, isn't it? I mean, if they did get approved and build on it, they'd make sure they're not going to get.
Yeah, but who's going to approve it? We're the ones that worry about the flood.
Is that your basis on just whether it might get flooded? Is that what you're basing it on, your decision on?
Yeah, what I'm saying is if somebody buys property because they said the zoning commission approved it, they think it's floodable. But I know that that's true. I have no idea. Because it's a hard thing. I would like to make sure somebody says this is reasonably accurate, as opposed to, oh God, if you had looked at it, 3/4 of the thing underwater.
But I don't believe that's
I don't know how to do that. Mr. Chair?
a factor in our
This is a
decision here.
variance. Dr. Pfeffer, this is a variance. It's a question of whether or not this board is going to approve a variance and allow it to become a buildable lot through the variance. It does not have, the question you're asking is not relevant to what's in front of you.
Why?
Because it's a variance with regard to the size of the lot. I mean, but we're asking
way overthinking this, Dr. Pfeffer, way overthinking this. But thank you. I mean, because I understand you're always thinking about liability or something. And I don't think that anybody's going to get flooded and then sue the city.
No, I'm not particularly as worried about that as somebody buys a property that they think has been certified in some way because it's gone through zoning and it's been accurate. When we know it's partially on a floodplain and
Very small.
Yeah, but that's my question. Is it really small?
Well, yeah, you'd have to research that, yeah, and see how many over the last 100 years, over the 100 years, did it actually allow that property flood? But that's not what's in front of us right now.
They're claiming that it's flooded, not 100 years ago.
No, they didn't say that it was flooded. No, they did not say that.
Property's very high in the front, 200 feet.
It's not, that's not a factor in this, my opinion, and I believe that's anyone else? No. Thank you for that, but yes. Could we have is that all right? Is that all right, Chris? Yes, sir, please. Sorry.
Good?
Please, yes.
All right. Sorry, I'm a carpenter, not a public speaker. So, my name is John Hanghold, and I bought my lot probably 10 years ago, and like everybody else in here, I had to buy the correct amount to have what I have. Worked very hard for it. And I'm sorry that he got hornswoggled on the property. I mean, if I wouldn't be able to build, the guy next to me bought the same thing, 0.75. Can't build on it, can't do anything with it. And the reason they're set up the way they are, sorry, everybody shakes, this is what it is you got to accommodate for your septic, your drain field, and your well. And you got to stay away from the water, you got to stay away from her well. And the lot is really narrow. Her well is right up against that property. I mean, it's a logistic nightmare to begin with, but it's just not right that some people follow the rules and the law and other people get away with it. And I'm not saying they're getting away with it right now. I'm just saying that, I mean, you should have done research. It's just what it's, I've lost deals too. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Can I reapproach?
Could we, hold your thought, if you would, please, sir. Do anyone else to speak?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, please, go ahead.
He's talking about the septic tank and the wells, but there's other lots.
Would you please identify yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Jim Norton.
The applicant.
And most of the lots in Deltona are quarter acre with septic tanks and some with wells. So I don't see where this property's big enough to accommodate all of that. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. I have a couple of issues in this, and that why did your buyer, their title company brought it up, but when you bought it, your title company didn't bring it up?
The company did call the city to see what setbacks were, and that's when they looked up and said it was not buildable lot.
Oh, okay, so, but you didn't do that at that time, for whatever reason. I'm not blaming you, I'm just.
I didn't do it when I purchased it, no. I purchased it, and I came to the city with my plans, and they said, yeah, you meet these setbacks, and they're good to go. And then, like I said, because of cost, I decided not to.
So, Yeah, I'm still questioning why in the heck these got platted this way? I mean, why are there two, and probably other ones are spaghetti farms, huh?
They used to be camping sites back when, and then they bought little by little, and then people joined the properties, and then it became built.
And when did it become the 1 acre requirement?
It was during incorporation, and these lots are unplatted. So they were previously, Volusia County RA, which actually required 5 acres. So there was a lot of unrecorded subdivisions and things that happened, like these people saying. But it is unplatted, and this property specifically, there is no record of it annexing in. So it probably was incorporated in original incorporation, and that's when the RE1 was imposed.
Hell of a lot of us.
Well, I don't have, it's really not a very big difference. Your statement of, well, what's going to be next? I understand that. I can see why you'd say that. We've had this come up before us one other time, a similar situation, and I'm kind of, it's a conundrum for me because I hate to see somebody. Yes, everybody wants to have their home, but then. Then they don't want anybody else to the home beside it if it's exactly this is not a huge difference. I do believe there's plenty enough room for, like as the gentleman said, septic and all that. Yeah, the guidelines are there for a reason. But does anybody else have any statements or questions on the board? Is there anybody? There's nobody else to speak, so. I guess we can move for a motion and then maybe have some discussion if you like. But if someone wants to make a motion on this one way or another.
Sorry, Chair, I did have one question came to mind.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Caitlin, can you explain why you decided to go the variance route instead of is a rezone a possibility to allow for a smaller lot that this would cover this issue?
A rezone would
rezone this property instead of doing a variance?
No, not really. It just wouldn't be submitted because it would allow for like spot zoning. So it wouldn't be consistent with the rest of the zoning there. So if it was just say, if you wanted to rezone it to R1 or something, it would just be inconsistent with the rest of the land. Surrounding it is all RE1.
To make one small parcel.
Yeah, just one small.
Yeah, there's nothing compatible.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know, man. That's a tough call.
I tell you, with me, it is just so close to being legal. If it was 3/4 of an acre, I might, I got a problem with this. But it's so close to that 1 acre plateau, and we got that one down there with a house on it. The same size property.
There's a house right here on this.
Yeah.
But it is on our handout.
You got yours here, and right below it is an exact same type of size as a house.
South corner, there's a house in the front of it.
They own that lot next to it. Keep talking about that.
But he built on,
They wanted a house for their daughter who has the deeds, so they parted another house.
well, so it still has a residence. Well, then that still, what's your problem? People want to not own it, or that I thought it was because how it might, how does it, my question to you all is, how does this,
I'm listening to you. He's trying to speak to you.
my question to you all is, how does this really hurt you? Other than, I did it, they need to do it too.
Well, there's additional places out there that maybe aren't quite 9.92.
Oh, yes, please, yes, decorum, please, I'm sorry. Please come to the podium to answer, I apologize. Marcia's going to keep us straight here. Keep us in the straight and narrow.
Hi, it's Ruth Hall, 358 Purvis Lane. Okay, now what was your question again?
All right, I'm sorry. Yes, please speak in the mic. And I was just saying, To what part does this, really infringe on you over here on Purvis, or?
Well, because I live on Purvis, and there's also, and the same with the gentleman, there's small pieces of plots just like that next to him, that maybe are not .92, it might be .8 something. Again, we did larger pieces of property. It's not our fault that we didn't.
Well, you have one.
RE1. I know, but that's.
But you don't want them to have it.
No, it's. Yeah, there's to follow the guideline, want us to follow.
Well, not everyone has them. I'm sure it's a higher price, right?
Well,
that's right.
That's not even relevant either. It's we all did what we were supposed to do according to your guidelines. Oh, we didn't come.
You knew when you bought land, you were very well
I've
aware.
been coming out here since the
Okay.
70s. So I've watched this whole city, I've watched this happen. So yes, I mean, we've seen it all happen. But people want to live on acreage. Some people want that, some people condos, some want townhouses. We all have acreage out there. It's not like the biggest tax places for the whole city, but it's a small little area that it got incorporated.
The only reason is that's
different.
it. It's just the principle is why that's the principle of the fact, right?
No,
because it's not going to infringe on you in any way, correct?
No, that's not. No.
That's
If this person had an acre, I wouldn't be here. If he legitimately bought what we all did.
Well, what
That's
were
the
you
problem.
expect those lots to happen to those lots? Then?
Again, that
Don't care.
Sell it to somebody. Well, really, I'm not going to. If I buy it, it doesn't even butt up to mine. So, but that's
yeah. I guess I understand your point, but
well, I think you do. But it's people want to be acreage. We didn't want a little almost here and almost there. I mean, there's.
Is the person that is next to the, are you anybody next to the lot?
Maybe that's direct involved.
Do you have anything to say about it? Could you step forward and say anything about it? Is it?
I'm going to let you talk.
I see you have it looks like maybe a house and a barn or so, huh? Maybe?
This is Leslie Robertson.
Please state your name, I'm sorry.
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Hear.
Okay. Leslie Robertson, 730 Riggs Avenue, right now, right next to them. Here's the thing. If you're thinking about a house, it's going to be, we'll be so close. See, that's the thing. The other person here, he wants to buying this. He's got 2 acres or something like that, and they have a house there. He wanted to talk about buying this one, but he didn't want to because it was too much money. And me, we just don't want have something close again. I mean, it just like she said, we'd rather not,
Of course, if he bought a lot next door, they could still build the house anywhere on that right next to yours, to that line. They could build right there by the line.
This little one, we're talking about.
No. I'm saying right there in the. Even if they bought the lot over, they could still plant the house right close to you.
Well,
technically.
I guess so. That's
I get it, but that's not what we're looking at. That's not what we're looking at.
Okay. Thanks.
And I apologize to you all. I have one of my problems is that when people, I do get, especially if you're, I'm not at this point. If someone wants to make a motion for this, yay or nay, please do. Any more else? They didn't have anybody else to speak. And I asked her, yes, please. Somewhere else.
I think the thing is that there's proposed requirements with variance, and the only thing that they don't fit into is the .92 acres, because it's supposed to be an acre. But the width, the front setback, the rear setback, the side setback, they're going to meet all those requirements. And yes, it is a shame you buy a big piece of property, like you said, Volusia, when it was Volusia, it was a 5-acre minimum. Now it's a 1-acre minimum, and then it's .92. But these people bought the lot, whether they do their due diligence to figure out that it had to be an acre, but now they want to sell and someone wants to build. It's still in my opinion, because I don't have land, .2 is still a huge lot. I mean, compared to the rest of Deltona. So they're still going to meet all the other requirements if we do grant the variance. So I would make a motion that the commission approve the variance.
Okay, take a roll call vote, please.
Member Gonzalez?
Aye, yes.
Member Pfeffer?
I vote no because I think we're setting ourselves up for an endless parade in this area of non-conforming lots. And whether it's 9.2 or 8.8 or 9.4, I mean, the 100 feet is the limit, so I'm voting no.
Member Sixma?
Yes.
Alternate Cardo?
Yes.
Alternate D'Erico?
No.
Secretary Amoroso?
Yes.
And Chair Alexander?
I'm going to vote no. Okay, that's not going to come up, but it was 4-3, all right? So yay?
Do we have a date when this will come in front of the commission?
October 16th.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, is there anything else? That's it on our agenda? If we may go to staff comments. Are there any staff comments at all? Oh, I would like to. Go ahead. I wanted to welcome you, and I'm sorry, I don't even know your name.
Good evening. My name is Dinelia Santana. I'm working with the planning department. I've been with the city for 23 years, working before in the building department, and then moving to the planning division. And tonight also I wanted to congratulate staff. They did a great job, and I wanted to make sure that all the projects that we have right now within our queue, within the planning department, until we have our new planning director and assistant director on board, that everything is moving forward through the city and to the planning and the city commission.
Yes, well, welcome. Good to work with you all.
Thank you.
That's it. Anyone else? I might tell folks back there that still has to go to the county, through the city commission too. Remember. All right, and if that's where we have just work, yes, if that's it, I say we adjourn the motion.
Motion adjourn.
Motion adjourned, second. We are adjourned. There you go.
We'll have fun.
Almost this night.
That's what happens when you leave the door open.
I actually believe that these people, this is the second time. For one of these
If you look at this 98, you see all these properties down here?
Yeah.
What are they going to do? I mean, how many of those are already developed is the question. And I don't think anybody would know the answer. Since you don't have the aerial view of that, I was going off of that one that was the southwest.
You know, if you're asking me